Fox News did a segment with Kevin O'Leary, and I don't think it went exactly how they hoped that it was going to go or thought. I don't know if they knew sort of where he was going to take this idea, but this is Fox News trying to create this narrative regarding the markets, the economy, where things are going, and what Kamala is doing in terms of dodging the media at this point. So let's take a look at how they frame this and how Kevin O'Leary responds.
Right? I mean, there's this direct tie suddenly to what we're seeing in the stock market, to the economy, and we just don't know where this economy is going next. But it has been, I guess, not for the faint of
wobbly.
Heart. Wobbly. What do you think?
Okay, that's one view. The other view is it's a generic market variety correction because we had some tech stocks trading at a 50 price.
So he already injects some reality into the situation. They try to paint this as uncertain and who knows what's going on. And, it's not for the faint of heart. And this is, panicking. And Kevin O'Leary says, well, or it could just be normal, market behavior. So
Earnings ratio extremely elevated that took a huge correction. And they happen to be such a big part of the capitalization of the S&P 500 that you had that massive correction. I argue this is healthy. This is a good, healthy correction. Now, whether it was triggered by Japan or not, big debate, doesn't matter. It's already starting to recover and forces you to think about diversification in your portfolio next time you load up on NVIDIA only.
Well, Sandra was talking a moment ago about how we heard very little about an economic plan under Kamala Harris, Tim Walz's ticket, all right? So
this is true. They haven't released a formal economic plan regarding taxes or, big bills or anything like that. They have some general ideas out there. They've been talking about paid family leave and, a higher corporate tax and things like that, expanding healthcare, etc. But nothing really in writing so far. So that's true.
So here's what we found. Wall Street Journal going back to late July. A lot of things can change, right? Trump had a clear advantage right now on who is best able to handle the.
And this is extraordinary because Trump just gets this based on optics because he's the, quote, businessman. Time and time again, Republicans are the ones that implode the economy and Democrats are the ones that have to come around and clean it up. They just associate tax cuts for the rich and for themselves for whatever reason as broader economic stability. Democrats are always better for the stock market, always better for the economy. So this is totally just perceived. It should be flipped massively in the other direction. But anyway.
The economy by 12 points, 52 to 40. Fox Business headline: Kamala Harris's campaign website has no economic plans. We were just going through it again to the commercial break. It's a bio about her, and it's a bio about her. There is no tab for issues.
It's intentional. She has no intention of putting any policy out there until this convention's over. I'm a very fortunate guy because I'm an investor, and for decades I've been syndicating debt, primarily for real estate. Some of her closest advisors are people I work with in finance. And we're friends. So I called them up and say, hey, listen, you want to talk about policy here? And they said, listen, everything's working right now. We're going to strong-arm the press on policy. We don't need to do anything.
Wait. What's everything's working?
The momentum's crazy. The press she's getting right now, she is sucking.
Her campaign.
The campaign.
Okay.
The campaign is working.
Okay.
And there's no reason to sit down with any journalist.
He was ready to jump on. Like, what do you mean? Like the economy is great and everything is like fine? Well, in terms of a lot of the numbers and metrics, yes, the economy does look good compared to other developed nations. I'll be the first to tell you that I think the economy is a mess and a joke underneath everything. There are lots of people struggling immensely, more than they should, in what is the wealthiest country in the history of the world. But just sort of any opportunity to jump in and create a propaganda moment. But what Kevin O'Leary is saying is exactly right. Why change or inject anything that could shift the momentum when you're already raising millions and tens of millions of dollars on a day-to-day basis? And, take everything as it will and only do what you have to do when you have to absolutely do it.
And talk policy right now because we're in the euphoric stage. They think they can raise up to $300 million before this this whole thing that's going to happen over the weekend is over. So that's extraordinary amount of money. Then it's time to talk policy. Then it's time to go to the center. Then it's time to talk about
And when he talks about going to the center, there's a lot of these people that are sort of like holding out hope for, I don't know what it means to them to pivot to the center. I guess it means to signal that you're going to do nothing on policy and just sort of keep the status quo. I think a lot of these people, like Kevin O'Leary, are going to be a bit disappointed. Not entirely disappointed. I just think that the selection of Tim Walz sort of signals that they will be disappointed because they are going to continue with a progressive, a populist economic agenda. Hopefully, and they should, honestly, and that's what the country needs at this point. It's what the country is screaming for based on all the polling. So hopefully Kevin O'Leary is disappointed when that pivot to the center never really comes, and it's actually, well, it's going to be a pivot to the populist center of what the American people actually really want and need at this point.
All right, so are they telling you where she stands?
No, they're just saying, listen, we don't worry about this right now. We don't have a problem. No problem here, Houston. We're just raising dough. And you got to hand it to her. They're now talking within that campaign about a path to winning that they didn't even see 8 days ago.
Yesterday, Joe Biden was not seen, heard, or even mentioned over the entire.
Well, Nancy Pelosi was. She's going to use the Infrastructure Act to put his head on Mount Rushmore. That's the way I'm looking at it.
On night one, we believe in Chicago, Joe Biden will make his speech, and then he is off the stage.
I get it.
As it should be.
I don't think the focus of the Democratic Party, while they're very thankful about Biden and respectful, is worried about any of that anymore. There's a hell of a race going on here in the next 97 days.
I think the delegates are all in on this, and they're
I don't think you can call
putting
this.
the past behind
You
them.
can't call it for anybody anymore because it's going to be so chaotic. There are some issues, though, regarding the way, if you go, I'm a bit of a wonk on policy and a historian. The incumbents in Britain, in Canada, in France are all getting whacked because they couldn't marry policy with executional skills. And that is Harris's risk, because I'd argue she was the deciding vote for the infrastructure.
Correct.
Well, you remember that whole act,
Inflation
Reduction Act. That's the reason we have inflation.
So that's total bullshit. We were already on an inflationary spiral heading into that had to do with supply chain constraints because of COVID and the lockdowns that created bottlenecks that led to a spiral of increasing prices, which we saw over the course of 2022, 2023. The Inflation Reduction Act, nominally or largely or most probably had very little to do with any of that. And if anything, in the long term, yes, as implied, could look to strengthen the economy and move the economy forward, not stagnate the economy.
So Trump will pin that on her. Going to pin the border on her on executional skills. Going to pin defunding the police. Going to pin
Nobody ever defunded the police. That's bullshit.
Fracking on energy. These are tough things that you have to recuse yourself from somehow in defining a new role for America to get to the center. Everybody agrees on both sides. The country's gone to the middle. So she can't stay left. Everybody's waiting.
That's total bullshit. None of that makes sense. The country is majorly on the populist economic side of things. They want expanded healthcare. They want expanded. They want the minimum wage raised. They're in favor of paid family and sick leave. They're in favor of lowering prescription drug prices. All of that is stuff that is on the progressive left. None of that stuff exists in this imaginary middle that apparently, all the corporatists would love for the country to stay in, so they could continue with their increasingly large, massive dividends and stock payouts and all that fun stuff.
To hear what she can do on policy, and then they will go nuts on executional skills.
We'll see if she moderates her position on anything.
I guarantee you she will. I guarantee
you. Well, actually, that's probably true. She probably will, knowing Democrats. But again, keeping the fact that Tim Walz is in there means that she might be thinking something else. And I am very curious to see how this unfolds. I think Kevin O'Leary is about 50-50. He's probably looking at it through a more traditional lens, which you can't blame him. But I would say he's largely wrong on where the direction of this thing is going. I hope that this pivot to the center bullshit that they're talking about does not happen. I would not be surprised if it does. Wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. So we'll see. You know, he's a finance guy. You can imagine that a lot of his takes make sense the way they do. And you know, again, he's half right and he's half wrong in a big way. So we will see. We will see how these things unfold in the next few weeks. But that is Kevin O'Leary's take, taking on Fox News and the narrative on where is Kamala Harris and why hasn't she been, you know, putting out any news conferences or doing any of that stuff. At the end of the day, seems like it's a good choice for now, but eventually she will have to face the music. Thank you for listening, and I will see you guys in the next one.